This episode is sponsored by Anchor. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. First, it's free, so, doesn't get any cheaper than that. Second, there are creation tools that will allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. I'm editing this podcast from a Chromebook using the web, so it's pretty easy to do. If I can do it, you can certainly do it. Third, Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and so many more services. So you don't have to go to each individual podcast service and distribute it yourself. It automatically does that for you, so that's pretty awesome. Fourth, you can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. So, it's a pretty good way to make some money. And then, last but not least, it's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. So, download the free Anchor app for iOS or Android, or go to Anchor.fm to get started. That's ANCHOR.FM to get started, or download the app for iOS or Android today. The following episode may contain language that is not suitable for certain listeners. Listener's discretion is advised. Hello, and welcome to the Cels and Circuits podcast. I'm your host, Chibeze Anakor, and on this episode, we'll be talking about the most anticipated animation, tech, and gaming for 2021 in our first episode of 2021. And without further ado, let's jump right into it. Welcome to the first episode of the Cels and Circuits podcast for 2021. Happy New Year if this is your first time joining, and if you've been down from the beginning, thank you, and also Happy New Year to you as well. Just a quick housekeeping note before we get started. Starting with this episode 23, we will be dropping episodes every Saturday. The Cels and Circuits podcast is now becoming a weekly podcast once again. I know we started out as a weekly podcast, but then we had to loosen up the release schedule. So I'm trying to get back into a more consistent release schedule for you, the viewers, or not viewers, for you, the listeners. I should also say that none of the content that you're about to hear in this episode was edited. I could not find the energy to edit this episode with everything that just transpired within the past 48 hours at the U.S. Capitol in Washington, D.C. My hearts go out to every innocent person whose lives were disrupted that day. All of the content that you're about to hear is completely unedited. So if you see a shift in quality from what I usually produce here on the show, that's why. Thank you. And without further ado, let's get into it. So, with this being the first episode of 2021, I want to talk about my most anticipated animation for this year. So, I mean, there's a lot to look forward to this year, and I personally can't wait for any of the stuff that I'm about to mention. And if I do mention any dates, they're subject to change. So just be mindful of that. But first up, let's talk about the most anticipated new cartoon series of 2021. And so there's a lot of good American animation coming out this year, so I want to highlight that. And so first up is Star Wars: The Bad Batch. That was confirmed last year after the series finale of Star Wars: The Clone Wars. So it's nice to see that we're getting that spin-off, and I'm very much looking forward to that. D. Bradley Baker, who voices all of the clones in the Clone Wars, he's definitely going to be making bank from the series. So yeah, I'm very much looking forward to it. I loved the Clone Wars as a kid, and I still love it, even up until last year, when the series ended. I still watched it, very faithfully. So very much looking forward to Star Wars: The Bad Batch. Up next, we have Marvel Studios' What If? And so that is an animated series made by Marvel Studios, which makes the Marvel movies, instead of Marvel Television, which, I mean, is now defunct, but also just made the television series like the Netflix series and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Agent Carter and just like all of the Marvel television stuff that we've seen up until now, with WandaVision and the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So now Marvel Studios, the movie company, is taking over the television side of Marvel as well. And I talked about that in the Deadpool cartoon segment a few episodes ago. So if you missed that, go and listen to that episode. But I'm very much excited for Marvel Studios' What If, because it basically, or as the name implies, it allows you to see what could have been in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So I'm very much looking forward to that. And also, it'll probably feature one of Chadwick Boseman's final performances. So yeah, I mean, rest in peace to Chadwick Boseman, and I'm very much looking forward to Marvel Studios' What If. And I should also mention both What If and Star Wars: The Bad Batch are coming to Disney Plus, so be on the lookout for that. And so next up is Aquaman, King of Atlantis. This was announced, I believe, in 2019 as one of the titles that'll be coming to HBO Max. And it's scheduled for this year on HBO Max, so I'm very much looking forward to that. And yeah, I mean, Warner Brothers has produced a lot of quality DC cartoons over the years. And so, yeah, I'm very much looking forward to Aquaman, King of Atlantis. And then next up is a show that looks similar to those Warner Brothers created DC cartoons of the past. and that's Invincible. So, Invincible is coming to Amazon Prime later this year, and it's based on the comic book of the same name. And from the trailer that I saw of it, um, it looks very reminiscent of those DC cartoons, and it looks like it's a more adult animated action series, and it has a very star-studded cast. So yeah, I mean, I'm very much looking forward to Invincible, and yeah, I'll be on the lookout for that when it comes to Amazon Prime later this year. And so next up, we have Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur, and this is one that, and this is a rare case of a Marvel cartoon that isn't existing to just promote a movie. Because after the Disney acquisition of Marvel, most, if not all, of the Marvel cartoons that have come after that have existed to promote a movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So, but Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur is one that doesn't have a movie attached to it. So that's very rare to see in the Marvel space. So I'm very much looking forward to it. And I believe Lawrence Fishburne is also producing this. So yeah, I mean, I'm pretty hyped for it. It's coming to Disney Channel, I believe. So yeah, looking forward to that. And I will definitely be watching that to see how it is. And so next up we have Jellystone. And Jellystone is basically about the animals of the Hanna-Barbera universe, if you will. And I mean, it'll feature some of the iconic characters. So I'm very much looking forward to Jellystone as a like, you know, Cartoon Network watcher back in the early days, when I was a kid, when they would air the Hanna-Barbera cartoons a lot. I grew an attachment to those characters. So I'm very much looking forward to Jellystone, and that is coming to HBO Max later this year. So I'll be on the lookout for that, and I hope you will be too. And then, last but not least, for this section, is one that might come this year, but I'm not sure. And that is Genndy Tartakovsky's Unicorn Warriors Eternal, which was just announced a few months ago, actually. And that will be coming to Cartoon Network and HBO Max. I don't know if it's going to come this year. I think that we may see a first look of it at like Comic-Con or something, whether it's virtual or in person. But I don't think that we'll get the full show this year. I think that may come in 2022, but I could be wrong, and I would love to be wrong. But yeah, I mean, Unicorn Warriors Eternal, just look out for that when it comes to Cartoon Network and HBO Max. And so next up, we have the most anticipated new anime series of 2021. And so the first three of these will actually be Toonami originals. And so, as a Toonami fan, like I still watch Toonami religiously. Sometimes I watch it live. Sometimes I just DVR it and watch it the morning after. But um, yeah, I mean, so first up we have Uzumaki, which I believe is going to be 4 episodes, and it's going to be a black and white anime series that adapts the Junji Ito manga of the same name. So yeah, I'm very much looking forward to that. To see what to see how they do that, how that adaptation will work, because the Junji Ito collection anime from like a couple of years back, it wasn't very good, but so I'm hoping that this will be a lot better. And yeah, it will be produced by Production IG, and it's going to be a Toonami original. So it's a collaboration with Adult Swim. So be on the lookout for that when it comes to Toonami on Adult Swim later this year. And then next up is Fena Pirate Princess, which was announced it was announced a few months ago. I believe it was at Adult Swim Con. Yeah, Adult Swim Con, because it wasn't at the festival. So it was announced at Adult Swim Con last year during the Toonami edition. And it's going to be directed by the guy who directed Be the Beginning, which I'm not going to lie, that made me a bit worried about it, but I'm hoping that those worries will come to pass, and the show will actually be good. So if you missed my coverage on Fena Pirate Princess, I encourage you to go listen to that episode on Adult Swim Con, because I talked about it a bit more in that episode. So be on the lookout for Fena Pirate Princess later this year. And that is going to be a Crunchyroll and Adult Swim production. So be on the lookout for that on Crunchyroll and on Toonami on Adult Swim. And then next up we have Blade Runner Black Lotus, which I also talked about in the Adult Swim Con section or segment of a previous episode. So seriously, go listen to that if you haven't already. And yeah, I mean, it's a Blade Runner. It's a CG anime that's being created by Sola Digital Arts, and I believe Production IG as well. I could be mistaken though. I could be wrong though. But yeah, this one is also going to be a Crunchyroll and Adult Swim production. So be on the lookout for that. Though what I am sad to see is that Flying Lotus will not be returning to produce the music for Blade Runner Black Lotus, because he produced the music for Blade Runner Blackout 2022, which came out on Crunchyroll a couple of years ago. So So yeah, I'm a bit sad about that. But or I'm a bit disappointed in that. But other than that, I'm hoping that it'll still be a very good show regardless. So Blade Runner, Black Lotus. Keep an eye out for that. That's going to be coming to Crunchyroll and Toonami on Adult Swim later this year. And then next up, we have Shaman King, which is a reboot of an anime that came out in the early 2000s. It's a second adaptation of the manga of the same name, which, if I remember correctly, switched publishers. So it's no longer in Shonen Jump anymore. So we'll see how that affects the anime, and also, well, yeah, we'll see how that affects the anime. But other than that, I mean, it shouldn't really affect it that much, if at all. But other than that, I mean, I liked the Shaman King anime of the early 2000s. I watched it on the Fox box, which later became 4Kids TV. It was one of my favorite things to watch on Saturday mornings. So I'm very much looking forward to the Shaman King reboot, which is coming in April of this year. I don't know which platforms it'll be coming to, so we'll be on the lookout for that. But next up is basically Netflix originals. And so the first one, the most obvious one of the Netflix original anime that I'm looking forward to is Yasuke. And that is being directed by LaShawn Thomas, who directed Cannon Busters, which came out in 2019, and then also he directed the Children of Ether short that came to Crunchyroll, which I'm kind of salty that nothing ever came out of that, but anyway, I'm very much looking forward to Yasuke. And unlike Blade Runner Black Lotus, Flying Lotus will actually be producing the music for Yasuke. So yeah, I'm very much looking forward to Yasuke. And I will be doing a watch party of that series when it comes out. So stay tuned for details on that. But Yasuke is coming later this year to Netflix. So yeah, very much looking forward to that. And then next up is Pacific Rim The Black. And so Pacific Rim, I liked both Pacific Rim movies that came out, so I'm very glad to see that we're finally getting an anime series, because the director, Guillermo del Toro, had previously said, I believe it was after the first movie, that he would like to create or that he would like to see an anime made for that franchise. So I'm glad that's finally happening. And Pacific Rim The Black is, going to be produced by Polygon Pictures, I believe. So they've been doing some pretty great stuff over the years. And they've been improving their craft with every single creation, from Ronya the Robber's Daughter all the way up to their most recent production of the Transformers War for Cybertron trilogy. Like, their animation has just been getting better and better. And if you watch Polygon Pictures works, you will definitely see that. So yeah, very excited for Pacific Rim the Black. It's coming later this year to Netflix. So be on the lookout for that. Next up is Godzilla Singular Point. So Godzilla Singular Point is actually a collaboration between two anime studios that are very highly respected, and those are Bones, which, you know, is famous for creating many popular series like My Hero Academia, Space Dandy, Full Metal Alchemist series, Soul Eater, and so many others. And then Orange is most famous for producing Beastars. And the animation quality from Orange was very highly praised for Beastars. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to see what both of these studios bring to the table when they collaborate on Godzilla Singular Point. So I will definitely be on the lookout for that, and that's coming later this year to Netflix. And yeah, so next up is Eden, which is a sci-fi anime series that's being created by Cubic Pictures, which I'm not too familiar with their works, but I do know that it's being directed by Yasuhiro Irie, who was involved in Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, which is one of my favorite anime series of all time. So very highly anticipating some good stuff from this series, and I hope I'm not wrong, but we'll see. And Eden is coming later this year to Netflix. And then last but not least is Spriggan, which is being done by David Productions, which did the animation for Fire Force and JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Spriggan is an adaptation of the manga of the same name, and that is coming later this year to Netflix as well. And then, so that concludes the most anticipated new anime series. So now we have the most anticipated continuing cartoon series of 2021. And first up is Young Justice. I am currently making my way through seasons 1 and 2 of Young Justice with my girlfriend. We're both watching that together. And then we'll also watch season 3. And that will be very new material to me. I'm not sure how much of it my girlfriend has seen, but since I never subscribed to DC Universe, I never got to see season 3 of Young Justice, but now that it's on HBO Max, and HBO Max will be the de facto streaming service for all DC content moving forward, I do think that Young Justice will definitely have a great home on HBO Max. And so, yeah, I'm very much looking forward to Young Justice Season 4 on HBO Max. And I'm hoping that comes this year, though no release date has officially been announced. But yeah. And speaking of DC cartoons, Harley Quinn is the next one up. And that is getting a season 3 on HBO Max. Now, a definitive release date hasn't been announced yet, but I'm very much looking forward to season 3 of Harley Quinn. And I'm hoping that comes this year as well. But I don't know if it's going to come this year. But Harley Quinn was a pretty funny cartoon series. And like I watched it on Sci-Fi last year for season 1, and then HBO Max for season 2. Excuse me. And it's very funny. It takes all of the DC characters and just has fun with them. And that's something that you don't really get to see a lot with superhero stuff. That isn't just like purely a satire cartoon. So yeah, I mean, Harley Quinn, it's great. Highly recommend it. And it's on HBO Max. And hopefully season 3 comes this year to HBO Max as well. Next up is Solar Opposites, which I just recently finished season 1 of. And Solar Opposites, it's a cartoon by Justin Roiland and one other guy whose name I can't remember, but Justin Roiland is one of the co-creators of Rick and Morty. So if you liked that show, I'm pretty confident that you would like Solar Opposites. But yeah, I mean, season 1 was pretty great, and I'm very much looking forward to season 2, and that is coming March 26th to Hulu. No word on an international release on Star, on Disney Plus, so be on the lookout for that if you're outside of the US. But yeah, very much looking forward to Solar Opposites season 2. And then last up is a show that I don't know if we're going to see season 2 of this year. And that is Genndy Tartakovsky's Primal. Season 1 just wrapped up in November of last year. And it was one of my favorites of last year as well. So all 10 episodes have officially been aired on Adult Swim. So if you're looking on demand, if you have cable on Adult Swim, you may be able to find all 10 episodes. And I'm not sure when the last 5 episodes of season 1 will be added to HBO Max, but I do know that the first 5 episodes are already on HBO Max. So if you want to get a taste of Primal, I highly recommend watching it. And it's such a great series with no dialogue that talks about like a guy named Spear and a female dinosaur named Fang. So, and they both share a common theme of loss. And so, like, because they're bonded by that common theme of, losing loved ones, they both, team up to just survive this primordial world, and it's a very visually stunning and just very powerful series that I'm very much looking forward to season 2 of. And it was originally supposed to be a limited series, but I'm glad that it got a renewal or for a second season. So be on the lookout for that, which I don't know if it's going to come this year, but yeah, be on the lookout on Adult Swim for that. And that concludes the most anticipated cartoon series or continuing cartoon series of 2021. And so next up is most anticipated continuing anime series of 2021. And first up on my list, which should surprise no one, is My Hero Academia. I mean, what can I say about My Hero Academia? I mean, if you're not watching it, please do. It's a great anime series from Bones that adapts the manga of the same name. So highly recommend watching My Hero Academia if you haven't already. And I'm looking forward to season 5 of that show. And then next up is Dr. Stone season 2, which is coming this month to Crunchyroll. And I believe, and I don't know when it's going to come to Funimation in dubbed form, but I will definitely keep an eye on that. I liked Dr. Stone season 1. It used science to tell, the story of a shonen anime in a very unique way. So very much looking forward to season 2. And then last up, which this is a series that's currently in progress, but its English dub debut will be tonight on the release date of this episode. And that is Attack on Titan season 4, which will be the final season. So Attack on Titan, I've been rewatching it with my girlfriend, and yeah, I definitely see like the hype and why this final season is just so hyped. Even though it's a different studio producing it, or producing season 4, I'm still very much looking forward to it. And I'm hoping MAPPA, or is it MAPPA? I don't know. But I'm hoping that they keep the quality up. And yeah, I mean, if you haven't seen Attack on Titan already, please watch it via streaming. I know it's on Funimation, Crunchyroll, Hulu, and I don't know if any seasons beyond season 1 are on Netflix. But other than that, yeah. Attack on Titan season 4, the English dub of that comes out tonight at 12:30 a.m. Eastern and Pacific on Toonami on Adult Swim. So watch that if you have access to cable or live TV. And if you don't have access to cable or live TV, then you can watch it tomorrow on Funimation. But yeah. And so next up is the most anticipated animated films of 2021. And first up is Raya and the Last Dragon, which is from Disney Animation Studios, and that's coming out March 5th, I believe, in theaters and on Disney Plus with Premiere Access. So you'll most likely have to pay an additional fee on top of your Disney Plus subscription to see that movie. But I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to wait it out for like 3 months until it actually becomes free for Disney Plus subscribers. But yeah, Raya and the Last Dragon. It definitely has an Avatar-ish vibe to it, story-wise. It's kind of like a fusion of, well, no. Yeah, it pretty much just has an Avatar vibe story-wise. So very much looking forward to that. And then next up is Diary of a Wimpy Kid. And the live action movies for that were pretty good. And so I'm interested in seeing what an animated Diary of a Wimpy Kid looks like. And we saw a little bit of footage from it at the Disney Investor Day last month. So yeah, I mean, and from the looks of it, I mean, I think Blue Sky may be animating it, but I could be wrong. But I'm very much looking forward to Diary of a Wimpy Kid, so be on the lookout for that. It's coming to Disney Plus later this year. And then, last but not least, before we close out the segment, I just want to mention the miscellaneous animated stuff that's coming out this year. I only have one thing, which is Star Wars Visions, and that is an anime anthology based in the Star Wars universe. So think the Animatrix, but Star Wars instead of the Matrix. And with each short being produced by a different Japanese anime director. So I'm very much looking forward to that. I'm hoping that my favorite anime director, Shinichiro Watanabe, who was behind Cowboy Bebop, Samurai Champloo, and Space Dandy, and Carol and Tuesday, I'm hoping that he directs one of these shorts that's part of this anthology. But we shall see about that. Star Wars Visions is coming later this year to Disney Plus, so I will definitely be on the lookout for that. But what do you all think? Do you think that there's something that I'm missing that I should be hyped for in 2021? What do you think of all of the animated series and movies that I've mentioned? Are there any that you are looking out for? Is there anything I didn't mention that you're looking out for? Let me know on social media or on Discord. I will have all my links linked to that in the show notes, right below that subscribe or follow button, depending on which platform you're on. And we can continue the conversation there. But yeah, that's going to do it for this topic. Up next, we'll be talking about the most anticipated tech in 2021. And then after that, we'll get into the most anticipated things in gaming for 2021. The Cels and Circuits podcast will be right back. This episode is sponsored by Yubico. Yubico sets new world standards for simple, secure login, preventing unauthorized access to computers, servers, and internet accounts. Their YubiKey is a physical security key using two-factor authentication to protect your accounts. As more of us continue to work from home, it is more important than ever to protect your secure information. So, what can you do to protect your accounts? Well, Yubico is offering our listeners $10 off your next purchase of $100 or more using the code POD at yubico.com. That's code POD at yubico.com. Say hello to the YubiKey and goodbye to account takeovers. Hey, Cels and Circuits listeners. Did you know that we now have a merch store? It's true. In partnership with Bonfire, we've launched the Cels and Circuit shop, where you can find t-shirts, hoodies, face masks, and more. So hit the link in the show notes to visit the Cels and Circuit shop and start getting your merch today. It really does help out the show. Thanks for your support, and now, back to the show. All right, so next up is the most anticipated tech of 2021. So there are a lot of tech products that'll be coming out this year. And we're already starting to see some new ones at CES, or at least the virtual version of CES. So I'm going to talk about some of my most anticipated tech for this year. And so first up is most anticipated smartphones of 2021. And so my first one, which should be pretty obvious, is the Google Pixel 6. I have a Pixel 5 right now, and I used to own a Pixel 3. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing what all Google adds into the Pixel 6 line of phones, and whether or not we'll get an XL variant for this year, because we didn't get one in 2020. But I am interested in seeing what Google brings to the table, especially when you compare them to the Samsungs and the Apples of the world. I'm interested in seeing if they'll upgrade their camera hardware. I'm interested in seeing what their what the processor is going to be, and what software features that Google adds to the Pixel, because every year Google comes out with some Pixel exclusive features on their phones. So I'm very interested in seeing what they have to offer. But yeah, I'll definitely be looking out for the Pixel 6 when it comes out later this year. And then next up is Samsung's phone lineup of 2021. So, and I say that because, a lot of tech enthusiasts have been predicting that last year's Samsung Galaxy Note 20 would be the last of the Galaxy Note line, and the Note line has normally been one of Samsung's highest end ultra phone lineups, but with the Galaxy Fold series and like the Z Fold 2 and the Z Flip, both being either more expensive than or at the same price as the Galaxy Note, and the Samsung Galaxy S series having pretty much 95% of what the Note series has, minus the S Pen and S Pen exclusive features. Um, I could definitely understand if Samsung just kills the Note brand, or transitions it over into the Samsung Z Fold series. And so, like the $2,000 Samsung Z Fold 3, we'll say, could have an S Pen in it. And then that'll become, the phone when you want it, a tablet when you, or excuse me, a tablet when you want it, a phone when you need it. And and it will be one that you can write on. But the screen has to be like, durable enough for a pen. So I'm definitely interested in seeing what Samsung does for this year, because they've always been on the bleeding edge in terms of smartphone tech. So yeah, Samsung phone lineup for 2021. Very interested in it, and I'll keep an eye out for it. And then last but not least, and this is a phone that I'm less interested in, because I'm definitely not an Apple fanboy. Like, the only Apple product I have to my name is an iPod Touch. So that tells you how big of an Apple fan I am. But anyway, the iPhone 13 series is something that I'm looking forward to this year, because Apple tends to influence the tech industry. And so I'm curious to see what kinds of features that they add to the iPhone 13 series, and whether or not this new iPhone will be portless or not, because they just released MagSafe with the iPhone 12 series. And I think that's just to get people used to MagSafe charging, so that they can, finally have a justification for removing the Lightning port, which is Apple's charging port, from the iPhone, and it will just have a portless iPhone. And so I don't know if that's going to happen this year or maybe next year or the year after that. But I guess we'll see. So definitely looking out for the iPhone 13 series, even if I'm not going to get one. I'm interested in seeing how it, helps move, smartphone tech forward. All right, and so next up are my most anticipated computers of 2021. And then, so going on with the Apple theme from the iPhones, we're going to talk about the Apple Silicon Macs, or at least the remaining ones that they haven't already upgraded to Apple Silicon. So just 2 months ago, just about, we got the first Apple M1 Macs in the MacBook Air, the 13-inch MacBook Pro, and the Mac Mini. So all three of those transitioned away from Intel into the Apple M1 chip. And if you go to any tech reviewers' YouTube videos based on or based on their impressions, like, you know, those M1 chips have pretty much blown the previous Intel chips out of the water, and even bringing like bringing that kind of performance down in price. Like people were, reporting that they had saved like thousands of dollars on Mac hardware because of that, and those are only like the entry level Macs, like the 13-inch MacBook Pro, the MacBook Air, and the Mac Mini. All of those are entry level. So I'm interested in seeing what Apple does with a more high end chip of their own, to put in devices like, an iMac or an iMac Pro, or a Mac Pro, or a MacBook Pro, the bigger 16-inch one. So yeah, I'm definitely interested in seeing what those will look like. Chances are they'll probably look the same as the current Intel versions of those models, but we may see some upgrades hardware wise too, and we could see a redesign this year. I don't know. Yeah, we'll just have to wait and see on that. And then next up is the Google Pixelbook 2. And so for me, I mean, I love my Google Pixelbook. I think it has fantastic hardware. And I like that it runs Chrome OS rather than Windows, because Windows can be a pain in the fucking ass sometimes. So I would very much like a Google Pixelbook 2. And even though Google hasn't announced that.
The Google Pixelbook is a portable laptop-tablet hybrid computer developed by Google, which runs Chrome OS.
And yep, there it is. So, yeah. So I'm sorry about that. Yeah, assistant has just been freaking out on my phone. But anyway, back to the Pixelbook 2. Google definitely hasn't mentioned any plans to release a Pixelbook 2. But I'm hoping that it happens, because since I have the 2017 Pixelbook, I think we're long overdue for a sequel, especially since the Pixelbook Go didn't exactly live up to like my expectations. Like, it's still, a good computer, but yeah, it didn't live up to my expectations as like a successor to the 2017 Pixelbook. So I am hoping that the Google hardware team just makes a Pixelbook 2, because I will shell out top dollar for that. And so yeah, the Google Pixelbook 2, I'm definitely hoping that comes out, especially also with the rumors last year that Google would make their own processors for both Pixel phones and Pixel books. Um, like it just seems like that would be, a logical step for them to have a Pixel Book 2 with their own chip inside of it. I think that would just make a lot of sense. Having that kind of Apple like strategy. I think that would be very smart of them to do. And I think I'm not the only person who would like a Google Pixel Book 2. So, yeah.
Here's a Reddit result.
Here we go again. Oh, man. The assistant is going to be talking over me. But anyway, now we can go into my most anticipated software of 2021. And so first up would be Google Stadia for Google and Android TV. I know that the Stadia team caught a lot of flack for Stadia not being on the Chromecast with Google TV at launch. And I mean, and like I already did like some coverage on that. So if you missed those episodes, please go back to the launch night in and the bias in gaming journalism segments, because both of those things cover the lack of Stadia for Google and Android TV. So yeah, check those out. But yeah, Stadia for Google and Android TV is scheduled for the first half of 2021. I'm hoping that it comes in Q1 rather than Q2. So, at the latest, I'm hoping that it's closer to April, but, it could be closer to July, or as late as the end of June, but I'm hoping that it doesn't take that long, but we'll see. And now, for another Google app that doesn't, or that is kind of whose omission from platforms like Google and Android TV is a bit more egregious than Stadia, in my opinion. That is YouTube Music. YouTube Music launched on May 22nd, 2018. So this year will be the 3-year anniversary of YouTube Music. And yet it still does not have a Google or Android TV app, which at this point is honestly unacceptable. I mean, at least with Stadia, it came out in November of 2019, so it's only been almost 14 months since Stadia came out. So it's kind of understandable that that Google hasn't put a Stadia app for Android TV out yet. But when you've had almost 3 years to do that, especially for Google and Android TV and Wear OS in that regard too, that's not good. That's not good at all. So I do hope that YouTube Music comes to Google/Android TV and Wear OS this year, because I mean, yeah, those apps are way, way overdue. So yeah. hoping that YouTube Music comes to Google and Android TV and Wear OS, because YouTube Music is actually my music streaming service of choice. I switched over from Spotify um, I switched over from Spotify last year, and they've been slowly, or not slowly, but they've been adding features to it in the past year. So, um, so it's only going to get better. But yeah, I do hope that those apps for Android TV and Wear OS come sooner rather than later. And then next up is xCloud for Windows. Now, Microsoft, in my opinion, didn't catch enough flack for not having xCloud on Windows at launch. I mean, Stadia caught hell from the gaming community for not being on the Chromecast with Google TV at launch, but yet Microsoft kind of seemed to get away with not having xCloud for Windows, which is just, I mean, it just makes me really question the gaming community at times. And, you know, it's just like seeing Microsoft get away with something that Google caught hell for. Like, honestly, it makes me honestly, it makes me ashamed of the gaming community. Like, just straight up, the gaming journalist and influencer communities, in particular. But that being said, I do hope that xCloud for Windows comes this year, and then also xCloud for iOS. I hope that comes this year as well, because literally all of xCloud's competitors now have solutions for Apple devices. Amazon Luna had it at launch. NVIDIA GeForce Now just added it a few weeks ago, and Google Stadia just added it a few weeks ago. So xCloud is kind of the only one left. So I do hope that it comes sooner rather than later as well. And then last but not least, I'll talk about my most anticipated tech trends of 2021. First up is the rise of ARM-based computers. So with the Apple Silicon Macs being so well received, I am interested in seeing what or how Microsoft and how Google will respond with Windows and Chrome OS, respectively. I do hope to see more ARM-based computers coming from Windows and Chrome OS manufacturers, and then we, the consumers, can get more powerful machines because of that. Next up, I don't know if this is going to come this year, or maybe it will be a next year thing, but I do hope for lower priced foldable phones. Foldable phones have pretty much, or there hasn't been a single foldable phone under $1,000. So if we can at least cross that threshold, that'll be a step in the right direction. But we shall see. And then finally, more competition in the budget smartphone space. So the budget smartphone space really started to heat up last year with options from OnePlus with their Nord series. Of course, you had the Pixel 4a from Google, and then you had the iPhone SE from Apple. And then you had, of course, options from brands like Samsung and Motorola. And so I am hoping for more competition in the budget smartphone space, especially here in North America, because historically we hadn't really gotten um, many budget smartphones. Here in the U.S., within the $100 to $400 price tier. So I am very much looking forward to being able to recommend those phones to most people, because you really don't have to spend $600, $700, or even upwards of $1,000 on the latest smartphones if you're not really going to use a lot of the power that those smartphones afford you. So, yeah, very excited for more competition in the budget smartphone space. But yeah, that's going to do it for this segment. Let me know what you think of my most anticipated tech of 2021. Do you think there's something that I missed and something that should be on my radar that isn't currently? Do you or are you excited for any of the things that I listed? Let me know what your thoughts are on social media or on Discord, and we can continue the conversation there. But yeah, I'll see you in the next topic. Up next, we'll be talking about the most anticipated things in gaming for 2021. The Cels and Circuits podcast will be right back. Are you a small business looking for a financial platform to do business on? Check out Payment, the first Black-owned financial platform where you can do things like sending invoices, accepting payments, and more features will be added in the future. If you watch Trigger Warning with Killer Mike on Netflix, you know that money stays within the Black community for an average of 6 hours compared to the days and sometimes weeks that other communities get. So if you want to bring or keep money in the Black community, join Payment, that's PEYMYNT, at the affiliate link in the show notes today. Hey, Cels and Circuits listeners. Want to support the show without having to buy any merch? Well, you can do that by buying us a coffee. All it takes is just $1 to help support the show. So click the link in the show notes or go to ko-fi.com/Cels and Circuits to help make the Cels and Circuits podcast a better show for you. Welcome back, and now it's time to get into my most anticipated things in gaming for 2021. And there are a lot of, good games to look forward to. I mean, of course, there's the new Horizon game for PlayStation. There's a new God of War game that people are looking forward to, but I'm going to tell you the 4 games that I'm most or that I'm looking forward to the most in 2021. So first up is actually a game that's coming out a week from today as I'm recording this. And so by the time it's released, it'll be 5 days away. And that game is Scott Pilgrim versus the World. this is a re-release. It was originally released on PC, the Xbox 360, and the PlayStation 3. But now it's getting a re-release for the previous gen consoles and PC, and the Nintendo Switch and Google Stadia. So yeah, I mean, Scott Pilgrim versus the World. I'm sure you've heard about it. It's one of the most celebrated beat 'em up games. Outside of, well, yeah, it was one of the most celebrated beat 'em up games for a while until it got delisted from every store for a few years, and now it's coming back in just a few days. So be on the lookout for Scott Pilgrim versus the World. It's coming January 14th to PC, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Nintendo Switch, and Google Stadia. And then next up is Riders Republic. And this is a game that Ubisoft announced last year at their Ubisoft Forward presentation. And as someone who enjoyed Trials Rising, which was a game I wasn't expecting to enjoy because didn't play a lot of, I didn't play a lot of BMX games and stuff like that. So I'm very much looking forward to Riders Republic, which is a game from the same developer, Ubisoft. So yeah, I mean, that's coming February 25th to PC, PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4, the Xbox Series X and S, Xbox One, Nintendo Switch, and Google Stadia. And then next up on the list is Gotham Knights, which was revealed last year at DC Fandom. Gotham Knights basically gives you the option of playing as either Red Hood, Robin, Nightwing, or Batgirl in a Gotham City where the Batman no longer exists because he died. So you're basically fighting to defend Gotham City from, the criminal underground that exists in the Batman universe. So yeah, I mean, I'm very much looking forward to Gotham Knights, and that's coming later this year to PC, PlayStation 5, PS4, Xbox Series X and S, and Xbox One. Or at the time of this recording, there's not been a release date announcement or an official release date announcement for any console, and there's no confirmation as of right now as to whether or not this game is going to come to Nintendo Switch or cloud platforms like Google Stadia. So be on the lookout for Gotham Knights. And I do hope that it comes to the Nintendo Switch and Google Stadia. And then last up is Ballin' Wonderworld. And this is a game, or this is a new IP that's created by one of the creators behind Sonic the Hedgehog, I believe. And it's a platformer, or it's an action platformer. And I love platformers. So this game definitely appeals to me. And it's very bright and very colorful. And like the characters look pretty good too. So I mean, I'm very much looking forward to Ballin' Wonderworld. And it's going to be from Square Enix and the Ballin Company, which is part of Square Enix. But Yeah. It's coming March 26th to PC, PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4, Xbox Series X and S, the Xbox One, and the Nintendo Switch. Um, at the time of this recording, there's no confirmation as to whether or not this game will come to Google Stadia. So, um, so if you play on Stadia like I do, just be on the lookout for it because Square Enix is definitely a developer that has put games out on the platform before. But yeah, Ball and Wonderworld. I should probably give some honorable mentions. Young Souls is a game that I'm looking forward to, which is coming to PC and Stadia later this year, and then probably coming to consoles even later than that. And then Road 96 is a game that is coming to PC and Stadia later this year as well. And if you have an HP Omen gaming PC, then you will have exclusive features in the game that you wouldn't get if you had another branded computer or if you built your own computer. Um, and the reason why that is because HP Omen and Google Stadia both helped fund that game's production. So yeah, so that game wouldn't have been fully realized without HP Omen and Google Stadia. So be on the lookout for Road 96. And then next up is Kaze and the Wild Masks. And I believe that's coming out to like all platforms sometime this month. I can't remember the date off the top of my head. But yeah, I mean, it's a platformer game that's pretty unique. And I'm very much looking forward to that. So keep an eye out for Kaze and the Wild Masks. Um, I mean, I could be wrong on the release date though. It could be later this year, but I'm pretty sure it was this month when they last announced it. But next up is the most anticipated gaming hardware of 2021. And so for the first one, this is something that's been rumored for a very long time. And that is, of course, the Nintendo Switch Pro. I think that we should be getting it this year, but if we don't, I mean, I guess that's okay too. I'll keep my Switch dock in the living room for now, but like I would love to have a Switch Pro that can output 4K and that can replace my Switch dock that's in the living room because I have a 64 or not 64, 65 inch 4K TV in my living room. So I would very much like to be able to get full utilization of that resolution at or on my Nintendo Switch because literally everything else that I have hooked up to the TV can take full advantage of that 4K resolution except for the Switch. So if a Switch Pro can be, maybe 1080p in handheld mode and 4K in docked mode, that would be amazing. Or, maybe it may just be a docked only Switch. I mean, we've had, the Switch Lite that is handheld only. And then the regular Switch, you can switch between handheld and docked mode. And so for the Switch Pro, like it wouldn't shock me if that was a, docked only or TV only mode. Um, and I would, or I would play that, or I would play that console nonetheless. I think that would be very awesome. But yeah, Nintendo Switch Pro. I will definitely be on the lookout for that. And then next up is the Atari VCS. And so, Kickstarter backers were early in getting this console, so it's already out right now. But I mean, and I was thinking of backing it myself, but um, being a Kickstarter, or was it Indiegogo? Or being a crowd-funded console, I wasn't sure that it was going to see the light of day. But now that it is seeing the light of day and it has things like PC mode where you can load your own operating system into it, um, that makes it a lot more attractive to someone like me who likes putting their own operating systems on things. Like as a kid, I would breathe new life into old computers by installing Linux on them, particularly Ubuntu Linux. But now that so much of my life is in the cloud, I could definitely see myself um, installing Chrome OS onto the Atari VCS, which will be good for running things like Google Stadia, NVIDIA GeForce Now, and maybe Xbox Game Pass. Maybe, but yeah. I mean, I'm pretty excited for the Atari VCS, and that will be coming out later this year. So I'm looking forward to getting my hands on it, and telling you guys more about it. And then my most anticipated gaming trend of 2021 is, well, one, more people getting access to the new generation of consoles, so the PS5 and the Xbox Series X and S, because over the holidays, scalpers and bots were just scooping up all of them, and that unfortunately left regular people shit out of luck for getting these consoles. So, yeah, I do hope that more people will be able to get their hands on them. And so, and including myself, I haven't gotten a PS5 or an Xbox Series X yet, but I hope to get one soon. But um, if I don't, I may just end up waiting until the mid-generation refresh. And so yeah. And the next gaming trend of 2021 that I'm very much looking forward to is cloud gaming becoming more accessible. And now, like with or what your favorite gaming influencers and journalists may say, that, or they may like to, pretend like Microsoft is the only game in town, but that just simply isn't the case. We have Google Stadia, we have Amazon Luna, we have Microsoft xCloud, and we have NVIDIA GeForce Now. So, like, especially in 2020, cloud gaming really took off, and more players entered the space. And I think that's good for everybody. And so some of the ways that cloud gaming will become more accessible is like for let's start with Google, or for instance, let's start with Google Stadia. Stadia will be expanding into more countries, or at least I hope they will be. And then also getting Google and Android TV support, which I talked about in the previous segment. So if you missed that, rewind and go back to that segment. But yeah, I'm very much I'm very much anticipating Stadia expanding into more countries so that more and more people will get to try it out. And also getting Google and Android TV support so I can finally bust out that Chromecast with Google TV and hook it up to my living room TV, because Stadia support is the only thing that's keeping me from using the Chromecast with Google TV in the living room, or in my living room. So, yeah, there's that. And then also, I'm anticipating Luna, or Amazon Luna, exiting beta and expanding into more countries. That is something that's definitely been desired by a lot of people. Um, and so, Luna has been in beta since October. And, they have a pretty decent amount of games that you can subscribe and play. There is no ability to purchase games on Luna at the time of this recording. But I hope they add that option soon, because some people would just like to own those games and not have to worry about them potentially rotating out. Um, and then also, with the expansion into more countries, like I said, with Stadia, um, expanding into more countries makes it more accessible to more people. So I'm very much looking forward to Luna being accessible to more people as a valid cloud gaming option. And yeah, so next up is xCloud. I'm very much looking forward to it arriving on Windows in particular, because I have this Surface Laptop 3 that I'm recording on right now, that I'm not able to play xCloud on at the time of this recording. And I hope that changes soon. So very much looking forward to xCloud arriving on Windows as well as iOS, because that allows more and more people to get access to xCloud. And then also smart TVs. I imagine they'll probably partner with Samsung first, since Microsoft and Samsung already have a partnership. It just makes a lot of sense for them to start out with Samsung TVs and maybe expand that into more TV operating systems later on. But yeah, I mean, a lot of people like gaming on TVs, and maybe don't want to get a $300 to $500 console. So yeah, I mean, it would make sense for Xbox to be on smart TVs. And last but not least, for xCloud, integration with Facebook Gaming. So shortly after the closure of Mixer last year, Xbox announced that they would be partnering with Facebook Gaming to allow people to jump right into Xbox games while watching their favorite streamer play on Facebook Gaming. And Facebook Gaming, I mean, look, no matter what your feelings are on Facebook, you can't deny that Facebook does have a massive user base. And so being able to just jump in to your favorite Xbox game from watching your favorite streamer stream it on Facebook Gaming, like that's huge. That is just huge. And I cannot stress that enough. And now I don't know whether the integration with Facebook Gaming would just be, surface level, like allowing, the click to play feature similar to Google Stadia, or whether it'll go deeper than that, like integrating equivalents of Stadia's crowd play and crowd choice, which crowd play allows people to play with their favorite streamers in the same game during the same session that they're streaming. And then crowd choice allows the audience to make decisions in the game for a streamer based on the game that they're streaming. So I don't know what xCloud's integration with Facebook Gaming is going to be, but I am interested in seeing what that looks like. And yeah, that's going to do it for this segment. Do you have anything that you're most anticipating in gaming for this year? Are you interested in any of the titles that I mentioned or any of the things that I mentioned? Is there something different that I didn't mention that you're more interested in 2021 in terms of gaming? Let me know on social media or on Discord. I'll have all my link in the show notes. Where you can find me on social, or where you can find Cels and Circuits on social media and on Discord. And yeah, we can continue the conversation there. But that is going to do it for this topic. Thank you so much for listening to the Cels and Circuits podcast, the place for tunes, tech, and where they intersect. Let me know what you think of any of the topics discussed on social media or on Discord via the All My Links profile linked in the show notes. If you like this content, share it on social media and give it a review to help more people find it. If you want to see even more content just like this, consider supporting Cels and Circuits on Ko-fi or visiting the Cels and Circuits shop. The Cels and Circuits podcast was written, produced, and edited by me, Chibeze Anakor, and our intro and outro and transition music was made by Tiffy3. That'll do it for this episode, so until next time, I'm Chibeze, signing off.